Today, we just wanted to introduce a new video series which we will be running on the YouTube channel, which is called TBP Insights. The purpose of this video series is to create 2, 3, 4 minute long content, just addressing some of the most common mistakes that newer players to the format make and areas whereby they can easily and quite quickly improve their fundamental strategy and chip EV by implementing some very quick fixes. With that in mind, the purpose of today's video will be the heads up small blind and how we construct our Cbet strategy. And for the purpose of today's video, we're going to assume we're playing heads up versus a recreational player. So the first thing we're going to do when we're playing versus a recreational player is look to play close to 100% VPIP. By VPIP, effectively, it's voluntarily put into pot. So we're not looking to fold. So we're either going to limp, we're going to raise, etc., etc. And the reason for this is because we have quite a large edge over recreational players when they're playing post flop. When it comes to playing post flop versus recreationals, they overfold to C-bets, and one of the main reasons they do this is because they donk. So regular players don't really have a donking range because they understand position and the power of position, but recreationals don't. So if they look at their hand and they like what they see, then generally they'll bet regardless of effective position. So this could be mid pairs, bottom pairs, top pairs, some random combinations, some straight draws, etc., etc. So with this in mind, when a player checks to us and it's a recreational player, then we can assume that we're going to have a high success rate when it comes to Cbet, right? So we would look to Cbet close to 100% in these positions and expect a high percentage of folds. Now, when it comes to playing versus recreationals and kind of like a baseline strategy, if they're not giving you any problems, then literally Cbet close to 100%. There is a few board textures whereby Cbet is not ideal because we have less fold equity, but we'll cover those in future video series, etc. So if this is something you're not doing currently and you think you might benefit from implementing this into your game, just experiment with it at the tables. Cbet, and don't worry about how this is performing, because it only needs to perform in a small percentage of time for it to be profitable. And then bring this into your game, and versus your typical recreational player, this will print. A few areas of warning or advice when it comes to implementing a strategy like this is respect the check raise. So generally recreational players don't have a wide or interesting check raising range. They play quite straightforward. Generally, it is very, very value heavy. So if you find yourself in a position whereby you're playing the limp C bet and you face versus a check raise from a recreational, then continue with a value range. So continue with hands which can increase equity on the turn, or we have value ourselves. Don't call it wide. Don't look to do anything funky like call to look at taking the pot down on the turn or the river, etc. Generally, they like to continue their regression once they've started it. So we're better just to keep this very, very simple, very, very ABC. And another thing which is quite ideal versus recreationals is choose your sizing according to your hand strength. So generally, when we're playing limp C-bet, it's literally just one big blind and that does the job. There is stickier recreationals, etc., etc. And, generally recreationals are quite inelastic to sizing. So if they want to call, they want to call. If they want to fold, they want to fold. So versus those stickier opponents, my suggestion would always be look to size up your C-bets. If you think that the difference between one big blind and 1.5, for example, is not going to generate any additional fold equity, which we know it doesn't, then always look to maximize your value where possible versus Rex. And this is, very much for any position in spins. More is always more versus recreational players. And if we think that they are going to call more, then we should always look for value. But yeah, this is just the first episode of the series moving forward. We hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, stay tuned for more content. Thank you very much.